In this segment, I'd like to demonstrate some details about the end of the fiber, the endoscope fiber. The endoscope fiber has kind of some sort of adhesive holding all of the fibers together at this very distal end. And right at the very end of all the fibers is a little tiny lens that goes over the top, and it's called the objective lens. This is pretty fragile, and let me show you that in a little greater detail. I don't know if you can appreciate this on YouTube, but there's a ring of fibers around the perimeter, and this is also shown in one of the PowerPoint slideshow / videos that I've made. It shows it in a little better detail. But these image guides are surrounding, or the light guides actually are surrounding the image guide. And this image guide in the center is 10,000 pixels, and around that are 19 different light guides. And right at the very end of all these fibers is this little objective lens. Now it's fragile, so if you tweak it, you bang it, or there's another possibility that I'll discuss in a minute that can damage it. It can affect your image, and I'll show you what that looks like if the objective lens gets tweaked. What we're looking at here is the sheath, and at the very end of the sheath is a silicone tip seal before you get to the window cell. The fiber advances into this sheath, and it should just slide right into the window cell as you close the lure lock on the other end. If it doesn't, these are all supposed to be tested so that this freely moves to the very end, but sometimes there's a little silicone flash right at the very end, and you don't want to push past that because that can tweak the objective lens. Now, I'm not sure exactly what happens, but my impression is that it may delaminate a little bit, and it affects your image. And we'll look at that, what that image looks like, in a minute. When you advance the fiber into the sheath and close it, the other end of the fiber has a little spring load in it, and this spring is supposed to put pressure on the fiber to hold it so that at the very end it stays, let's get there. The fiber stays right at the end of the window cell. So here's an example of what the image might look like if you have this delamination of the objective lens. You get these, what I call the iris effect. You get these little dark lines around the perimeter of your image, and you can still see what you're doing in the middle, but for me it's distracting, so I would prefer to have a fiber that doesn't have that, and then we take this one and we use it as a backup. If you have an image where you have some little dots on your image, generally what that is that's some sort of a particle that can get on the camera insertion portion of the fiber. This is the portion of the fiber that fits into the camera assembly on the top of the master control unit. This area right here picks up the light, and you can see, I don't know if you can see the a bundle of light fibers here, but that's what's there. And then the image guide is in this area. Now sometimes you can get these little particles of dust, or a lot of times it's the foam on the inside of the shipping box. If this hasn't been capped, If you I don't know, for example, are moving around and you don't cap this, then you'll get little particles from the foam or dust, but the thing to do is just wipe it off. Generally that works. Sometimes you may need to blow air in the top of the camera assembly, but and we'll talk about that next. You want to make sure you keep the plastic caps that come with the fiber and the master control unit. However, you know, a lot of times because you typically keep the fiber on all the time, you may misplace the cap that goes over the camera assembly. Again, there's a cap that goes on here, but most of the time you're going to be leaving it on unless you transport it in the box. Say you're going to a meeting or something like I would be. So just keep the cap in the box. If for some reason you've taken the fiber off and you have to protect the holes in the top of the master control unit or the camera assembly, just take some autoclave tape and then tape a piece of it back onto the center so it's kind of non-stick there, and just kind of create your own little cap over the top, but you won't get adhesive on the top part of the camera assembly. If you have to blow air inside there, if you feel you have to blow air inside there, that's kind of your last resort. You want to make sure that the air water that you're using, you blow a lot of air through it first and clear the whole line of any moisture, and then you can blow kind of over the top of this, not directly inside. And generally if there's something in there, that works. If you're not sure about anything though, give us a call and we can kind of go through the steps with you over the phone first.